Yep. Today, I'd like to talk about the Reiki Creed or Code, our motto. I'll give it to you straight, and then we'll go over my interpretations of it and what I think you can learn from it and use it for in your daily life. So it is just for today. Do not worry. Do not be angry. Be grateful. Work with integrity and be kind to others. So obviously there's some ethics sprinkled in here. I didn't give the motto much thought when I was initially training, and it was only really later in my practice that I learned to appreciate it and to use it as a meditative tool. And I'll show you how. So first, we're going to talk about just for today, the very beginning of it. So some days you're gonna worry, and some days you're gonna be angry, and you're gonna be ungrateful, and you're gonna be resentful about your work, and you're not gonna feel like being kind to others. The reason I think just for today appears at the beginning of it is to shake us out of the pattern of it. Because I think it's really easy once we start saying, well, this happened to me in my past, or I don't know that I'm gonna have the future that I want. It's easy to start making up excuses for why we don't give our all to tenets like these every day. And then it becomes a pattern, right? So saying just for today helps break through all of that and recenter yourself in the moment and say, you know what, maybe yesterday wasn't so good of a day for me, and maybe tomorrow won't be, but just for today, I can give these things a try. So how do you do that? How do you give these things a try? Well, let's look at worry. Worry is perseveration over things that we can't control. It's a concern, it's a need to have the future be a certain outcome so that we can feel okay, so that we can feel good in these future timelines that we're thinking of. It comes from uncertainty, and it comes from the fear that we will feel bad in the future. We see ourselves living out these things that we worry about, and we don't like the way it feels when we're thinking about it, so we want to stop that outcome, right? Now, I don't know that Usui meant don't ever worry. I never met him. I don't know if he meant to limit it or work through it. It kind of is just as it's written. But I'll tell you what I know from being a Reiki master, from practicing Reiki for over 10 years, from having a bachelor's in psychology and a bachelor's in philosophy. I think worry and anxiety, and we know anxiety. I'm a member of the millennial generation. Anxiety is kind of our thing. It's a function. It's a threat detection system. And that threat detection system that we have in our bodies, in our nervous systems, in our brains, and in our minds goes all the way back to when we were apes and chimps. I mean, apes and chimps, our descendants, thrived because of worry. They could look at all these different threats in their environment, and they began language in the form that we use it today to create different sounds to identify the different threats that would then mean the clan would do different behaviors to not get eaten or not get bit by a snake, right? So the worries are usually, some of the worries or even the basis of the worries that you have are real, and that's why we have them. And that's why when people say, oh, don't worry about that, or you see a teaching like, don't worry, just for today, don't worry, it can seem like an insurmountable task, right? So the way that I feel like this teaching, the teaching of the motto, can work is you can learn that worry can be worked through. Don't exist as just worried and be worried the whole day, because then you get anxious. Learn to make incremental progress towards doing the things that would alleviate the worry. And when you do that, you get shots of dopamine. When you succeed at making small steps towards making your life less worrisome and more enjoyable, that releases chemicals in your brain, dopamine, that make you feel rewarded. We're hardwired to do that. All right, enough about worry. Let's go on to anger. Anger can come from worry, but it can also come from a lot of things. Anger can come from our need to control people, control outcomes, control the world. It can be resentment that the world is not the way we want it to be. It can be fury about how you wish your life was different. And again, I don't know that Usui meant never feel anger, but what I think about anger is that it can be incredibly useful. Not necessarily by acting out the knee-jerk reaction of feeling angry. So, oh, I'm angry at this, so I'm gonna go smash it. But at least in terms of, if you've been complacent, if you've been in despair, then anger can be a good next step. It's not the step you want to stay in, but it's a good motivating factor to get you moving out of that low vibrational state and into something a little better, even if you have to disrupt things in order to get it, right? So I think the idea that the next step in the motto is be grateful, I think shows that sometimes when you get too worrisome and it leads to anxiety, or you're bogged down in anger and it's leading to resentment, sometimes the best thing you can do, and I think what the motto calls us to look at, is gratitude. Being grateful for something. Maybe the thing you're focused on isn't the way you want it to be, but there could be something that you could focus on that does remind you of how good things are, or give you a reason to feel good. And if you can get that going, and sometimes that can be very hard because you're really caught in a thought cycle of focusing on resentment or focusing on what you're worried about, and it's difficult to just pull that out. I think that's a major symptom of depression, is that you can't pull yourself out, right? So what gratitude helps you do is it helps you find things that can help you get to a better energetic state. And even when it comes to those worries and angers, sometimes if you're gonna focus on the same thing, instead of focusing on the dead specifics of it, you go general. You know, maybe my job isn't paying me what I think it should, and perhaps I should ask for a raise, and I'm really anxious about that, but you know what? I can start thinking about the reasons that I am deserving of the good things in this life, you know? And you can do that. You can focus on things that you have gratitude for 16 seconds, 15, 16 seconds, and it is enough to create an energetic shift, right? And that shift, that good energy that you get going by taking your focus off of the anger and resentment and onto gratitude, gives you some energy. And that energy feels better than resentment. It feels better than despair and worry and anxiety. And if you can even get a little bit of that going, then you can use that as a fuel to then inspire you into work. And that's why the next one is work with integrity. You can use the energy that you cultivate out of those anger and worrisome states, and you can use that energy to address your worries and to make the steps to improve your life or improve the world in order to make it a place that you're not so angry about. And it's way more effective, I find, especially if you're trying to do tasks that involve other people. If you're coming into those encounters that are going to make your life better and are going to make you have a higher energetic state overall, you know, through success or, you know, a little accomplishment or what have you, that's all much easier to do when you have good feeling energy, a good vibe going forward, rather than a worrisome and resentful vibe, right? And that's why I think the last step is be kind to others. because once you get that energy going and once you start doing the good work, whatever that good work is to you, it is possible, even if you're in a good feeling place, to get hyper fixated on doing the work. And you've met people who work too much, you know what I mean? It happens. And in that focus on the work that you are doing, it can sometimes be tempting to roll over people who are in your way and not really think of them as people, but think of them as obstacles to the path. Yes, personal work is important. And yes, the work of your life, whether it's your job or your hobby, that's also important. But we have to remember, and Usui, you know, the Reiki teachers called us to remember that in all of this, remember to be kind to other people and to be kind to yourself. All right, thanks guys. I had a little bit of a break for a couple weeks. I'm gonna try to keep uploading more frequently. Please stay tuned and please like and subscribe. Thank you guys.